Helena always believed her life was nearly perfect. After 7 years of marriage to Russ Lynn, and raising their lively 5-year-old son Andrei, she felt content. Their small apartment bustled with laughter, warm meals, and the joy of a young family. But lately, something had shifted. Russ Lynn had grown distant. He no longer looked at her the same way, and their conversations had dwindled to quick updates about groceries and Andrei's kindergarten antics. Worse still, Helena was haunted by strange visions, fleeting glimpses of her husband in the embrace of their neighbor, Karolina. A beautiful, younger woman, Karolina had recently moved into the apartment 1 floor below. She was fashionable, bold, and always seemed to have Russ Lynn's attention. Though she pretended not to notice, Helena saw the way Karolina smiled a little too widely at him, the way her hand lingered a little too long on his arm during friendly greetings. Helena tried to brush it off. Surely she was just being paranoid, but the visions became more vivid. In her dreams, she saw Russ Lynn laughing with Karolina, holding her close, even kissing her. She would wake up in cold sweats, her heart pounding, afraid the dreams were more than just figments of her imagination. Finally, after one particularly unsettling night, Helena decided to visit the woman everyone in their small town called Babaluba, a blind seer known for her sharp intuition and cryptic advice. Helena sat nervously in the old woman's kitchen, the smell of dried herbs thick in the air. "Karolina, she's my neighbor," Helena began hesitantly. "She's younger than me, prettier, and always wearing something, well, revealing. She flirts with Russ Lynn. I see it. I know I'm not imagining it." "And her husband?" Babaluba asked, without lifting her clouded eyes. "She's divorced. Raises her son alone. Our boys are the same age, so we used to watch them for each other. But now, I'm scared. Scared she's going to steal my husband." The old woman nodded slowly. "It is not your husband you must watch. It is your doors. You let people into your home too easily. Strangers bring strange energy. Some come with smiles, but leave curses behind." Helena's stomach dropped. "What do I do? How do I keep her away from him?" "You must not let her into your home. Not for 1 week. No guests. Not even a minute. Watch your home like a hawk. Do this, and you will see the truth." Helena left the seer's house feeling anxious but determined. For a week, no one would step into her home. Not Karolina. Not anyone. But fate had other plans. That very evening, Russ Lynn invited a few colleagues over for drinks and dinner. He was excited, hopeful for a possible promotion, and Helena didn't have the heart to say no. After all, what harm could it do? She cleaned the house, cooked for the guests, and tried to smile through the anxiety gnawing at her. The evening went well, until after everyone had left, Karolina showed up. Helena stared at her in disbelief. "Your door was open," Karolina said with a shrug, stepping inside without invitation. "I figured I'd stop by to say hello." "I think you should go," Helena said sharply. "What's gotten into you? Are we not friends anymore? We were never friends. Don't come here again." Karolina's smirk faded. "Fine. You've got issues, Helena. Maybe talk to someone about them." With that, she left. But Helena's heart wouldn't stop racing. The line between suspicion and reality blurred more each day. The next morning, Helena tried to confront Russ Lynn. "Do you ever think about moving?" she asked casually over breakfast. "To a new neighborhood? Better schools for Andrei. Where would we get the money? You know we can't afford a bigger place." "Maybe you just don't want to leave this neighborhood," she said, her voice tightening. "Maybe you like the company here." He stared at her. "You mean Karolina?" Helena didn't reply. The silence said enough. Later that day, Helena went grocery shopping while Andrei napped. As she walked back home, she spotted them, Russ Lynn and Karolina, standing too close in the parking lot. She heard Karolina laugh and touch his arm. Helena froze. Her hands trembled. Back at home, she called her oldest friend Valeria, who had known Ruslan long before Helena did. "I feel like I'm losing him," Helena whispered through tears. "He acts like I'm invisible." "I'll tell you what's happening," Valeria said. "That Carolina is getting into his head. That's what. You have to do something before it's too late." "What do I do?" "Go to her. Look her in the eye. Ask her straight up." Helena wasn't sure if she had the strength. But she knew she couldn't stay silent much longer. The next morning, she walked downstairs and knocked on Carolina's door, her heart hammering like a drum. When the younger woman opened the door, she raised an eyebrow. "Helena. What a surprise." "Cut the act," Helena snapped. "Tell me the truth. Are you sleeping with my husband?" Carolina's smile returned, wider this time, crueler. "Not only that," she whispered, "but that little boy of mine? He's Ruslan's son." Helena felt the world spin. Helena couldn't believe what she had just heard. The words echoed in her mind. "He's Ruslan's son." Her knees nearly gave way, and for a moment, she thought she might faint right there in Carolina's doorway. But somehow, she steadied herself. "You're lying," Helena hissed, her voice shaking. "You're saying that just to hurt me." Carolina shrugged. "Believe what you want. But I think he has a right to know. Maybe I should just go ahead and file for child support. That would make it official." Without another word, Helena turned and stormed upstairs. Her chest ached from holding back tears. Back in her apartment, she collapsed onto the couch. Her thoughts raced. Was it possible? Could Ruslan really have fathered a child with their neighbor? But she couldn't confront him. Not yet. Ruslan was away on a work trip in another city and wouldn't be back until the weekend. Besides, how could she bring up something like this over the phone? That night, Helena didn't sleep. By morning, she made up her mind. She would go back to Baba Luba. "I need the truth," she said desperately. "Carolina told me that her son is Ruslan's. I need to know if it's true." The old woman motioned to her granddaughter. "Kotia, bring the salt, sugar, and a clean bowl." Helena watched anxiously as Baba Luba took a pinch of salt and sugar and began to mix them together in the bowl. "Just like this," the old woman muttered. "Everything in your life is mixed. Truth and lies. Love and betrayal." She held the bowl close to her face, though her eyes were long gone to darkness. "The child is not Ruslan's." Helena gasped. "She told me that just to hurt me?" "Yes." She was angry. "You pushed her away, and she struck back the only way she knew how. But the child is not his. That I see clearly. However, there is something else. I see a woman in your kitchen, washing dishes. And she is not you." Helena blinked. "Carolina once fed the kids and maybe washed a plate or two. I thought she was just helping." "Helping?" Baba Luba's tone hardened. "Letting another woman clean your dishes invites her to clean out your happiness. Next time you catch her touching anything in your home, stop her." The old woman turned to her granddaughter again. "Kotia, bring the charm." She handed Helena a small cloth pouch filled with herbs. "Place this under your front door mat. It will keep ill wishers from crossing your threshold." Helena did exactly that. She tucked the pouch under the mat and whispered a silent prayer. For the first time in days, she felt a sense of calm. And something did change. That evening, Ruslan called. His voice was warm again. He asked about Andrei, about dinner, about her day. He even said he missed her. When he returned home, he brought flowers and hugged her tightly. Helena dared to believe the worst was behind them. But she was wrong. The next day, she saw it again. "Thank you for the honey," Carolina said to Ruslan just outside their building. Helena stood frozen around the corner. "I put it in my coffee," Carolina added with a giggle. "It's delicious." "It's nothing," Ruslan replied casually. "I just remembered you liked it." Helena felt her stomach twist. That night, she tossed and turned, haunted by images of her husband sneaking around, whispering in the dark with their neighbor. By morning, she had a plan. If the truth wouldn't reveal itself, she'd find it herself. The days following the test were torture for Helena. Even though she tried to stay calm, her thoughts were racing non-stop. What if the test really confirmed that Russ Lynn was the father of Carolina's child? What would she do then? Would she be able to forgive him? Would she want to? She found herself staring at the email inbox far too often, hoping, dreading. When the message finally came, her fingers trembled. The subject line read, DNA analysis result, confidential. She hesitated a moment longer, then clicked. The report was brief but devastating. Paternity result, 99.9% match. Her head started to spin. She couldn't even cry. She couldn't breathe. The walls felt like they were closing in. She closed her laptop, picked up her phone, and without thinking, called Russ Lynn. "You're the father," she said flatly, not even giving him time to greet her. "What are you talking about?" Russ Lynn replied, confused. "Carolina's son. You're his father. I got the test." A pause. Then, "You did what? You tested me without my permission." "I had to know. I couldn't live with all the lies anymore." There was silence on the line. Then he sighed. "I'm coming home." When he arrived, he looked tired, but not angry. He sat down on the couch, and for the first time in a long while, looked her directly in the eyes. "I didn't know," he said. "I swear to you. I didn't know that child was mine. I was stupid. We had one night, just one, years ago. It meant nothing. We were having a rough patch, and I was drunk. It was the biggest mistake of my life." Helena wanted to believe him, but the betrayal cut deep. "You lied to me for years." "I didn't lie. I didn't know. If I'd known, I would have told you. You know me better than that." She didn't respond. There was nothing to say that could make it better in that moment. Russ Lynn stood up. "I'll give you space. If you need me, I'll be at my brother's." And just like that, he left. The silence in the house was deafening. Helena didn't cry. She just stared at the ceiling all night, replaying everything over and over. The next morning, she decided to visit Carolina. She needed answers. Real ones. Carolina looked surprised to see her but didn't turn her away. "I guess you know now," she said. "Why didn't you tell him?" Carolina shrugged. "Because I didn't want to ruin his life. Or yours. He was married. You were pregnant. It wasn't the right time. But you let him be part of your son's life without telling him. Do you know how many times I almost told him? But then I'd see the way he looked at you, and I couldn't do it. And I never asked him for anything. I never wanted him to feel obligated." Helena shook her head. "You still should have told him." "I know. But I didn't. And I'm sorry." Helena was about to leave when Carolina added, "But if you think he stopped loving you, if you think he even once stopped choosing you, you're wrong. He talks about you all the time. You're everything to him." That night, Helena sat with her son and looked at his sleeping face. Then she went to the bedroom and opened the drawer with the test results. She took a deep breath, tore them in half, and threw them away. The past couldn't be changed, but maybe the future still could. 2 days later, Russ Lynn returned home. "I came to see Andrico," he said. "Of course," Helena replied. "But also stay for dinner. If you want." They ate in silence, but it wasn't a cold silence. It was a silence filled with tentative hope. After putting Andrico to bed, Helena turned to Russ Lynn. "There's something else." He looked at her, questioning. "I'm pregnant." His eyes widened. "Helena, I found out recently. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to tell you. But you deserve to know." He reached out, taking her hand. "Thank you. For telling me. And for not giving up on us." "We're not fixed," she said honestly. But maybe we can start again. They both knew there would be work ahead. There would be counseling. Forgiveness wouldn't come easily. But love, real love, was still there. And for now that was enough. Helena didn't know what she had expected from Russ Lynn. Denial, maybe, or excuses. But his honesty caught her off guard. It was the first time in weeks, perhaps months, that she felt he was truly speaking from the heart. One night, he repeated quietly. It was wrong. I've been carrying that guilt for so long, hoping it would never come out. But if you want me to leave, I will. I deserve it. Helena stood in silence, watching him. The pain in her chest was overwhelming, but so was the love she still felt. Her heart battled her mind. She thought of their son, of the years they had built together, of the child growing inside her. No, she said finally. You don't get to leave. Not like this. You don't just walk away from your mistakes. You fix them. Russ Lynn nodded slowly. I'll do anything. Anything to fix this. The following weeks were difficult. Every interaction felt like walking a tightrope over a pit of broken glass. Helena wasn't ready to forgive, and Russ Lynn didn't push her. He cooked, he cleaned, he helped with their son, and he stayed in the guest room without complaint. Meanwhile, Helena tried to make sense of her emotions. She confided in no one, not even Valeria, who had become strangely distant. The betrayal she had felt from her best friend lingered like a bitter taste on her tongue. She still remembered what Carolina had said, that Valeria had been making eyes at Russ Lynn for years. Then one afternoon, Helena noticed something peculiar. She had gone to drop off a package at the post office and, by coincidence, spotted Russ Lynn entering a small cafe, alone, she thought. But moments later, she saw Valeria walk in behind him. They sat at a table near the back, talking closely. Her heart pounded. She didn't want to jump to conclusions, but her instincts screamed that something was wrong. She waited outside. When they emerged, Valeria laughed at something Russ Lynn said and touched his arm. That was enough. Helena confronted Russ Lynn that night. I saw you with her, she said. With who? He asked, genuinely confused. With Valeria. At the cafe. Russ Lynn's face fell. Oh. That what, Russ Lynn? Why are you meeting her in secret? It wasn't a secret. She asked me to meet her. She said she was worried about you. About us. Helena crossed her arms. And you believed her? I thought she cared. She does, Helena snapped. Too much. She's not worried about us. She's in love with you, and she always has been. I was too blind to see it, but not anymore. Russ Lynn was speechless. Helena shook her head. You've made mistakes, Russ Lynn. But now it's time for you to see who's really been trying to tear us apart. That night, she sent a message to Carolina. I owe you an apology. Can we talk? Carolina replied almost immediately. Of course. They met in the courtyard the next morning. I was cruel, Helena admitted. But I've been drowning in jealousy and fear. I let it control me. Carolina sighed. It's okay. I understand. This whole situation. It's a mess. But Russ Lynn isn't a bad man. And Valeria. I tried to warn you. I know. And I didn't listen. Later that day, Helena removed the old charm from under the doormat and buried it in the backyard. It had served its purpose. Now, it was time for new beginnings. She took Russ Lynn to a counselor. She invited Carolina and her son over for dinner. Slowly, painfully, they all began to move forward. Helena spent the next few days reflecting deeply on everything that had transpired. She thought about her childhood, her beliefs, her values. She realized how much she had been shaped by fear, not just of losing Russ Lynn, but of being left behind, of not being enough. She returned to the old photo albums they hadn't touched in years, flipping through memories that felt like they belonged to someone else. Their wedding. Their first vacation. Baby photos of Andrico. Smiles that had once been real and unforced. She wanted that back. So she sat down with Russ Lynn, a notebook in hand, and they started talking, not about the past, but about the future. What kind of family did they want to be? What kind of parents? What kind of partners? Each night, they wrote letters to each other. At first it felt silly. But slowly, their hearts began to open. They were honest, vulnerable, and surprisingly kind. Helena's letter one night read, "I miss the way you used to look at me in the mornings. Like I was your whole world. I don't know if we can get back to that. But I want to try." Russ Lynn's reply, "I still look at you that way. I just forgot how to show it." When they finally told Andrico he would have a little sister, he screamed with joy and hugged Helena so hard she almost cried. And months later, when Helena gave birth to a healthy baby girl, she named her Nadia, Hope. Because that's what she had learned, that even in the darkest moments, there is always hope. And as for Valeria, she never came back around. Helena kept her kitchen her own. And as the wise old grandmother once said, "Never let another woman wash your dishes. She might just rinse away your happiness too."